Bright out here. All right, you guys, it's Saturday, 1 week, just over 1 week from the start of Drift Week USA. My buddy Ben Lee from Venger Performance Fabrication is about to be here, and he's going to weld in these reinforcement plates I got from Condor Speed Shop for me. So let's take a look at the goodie bag from Condor. All right, so we've got their shorty weighted shift knob, and I went with the M 5-speed logo. Then we've got the subframe plates, nice thick, eighth inch thick steel. Got a nice black suede shift boot, matching e-brake boot, and rear shock tower reinforcement plates, and R-tab reinforcement plates. So this should make the rear of the car completely sturdy and not have any issues. And those plates basically just go down here. Let's see if we can see. So here's the subframe mount point, and typically on E36s, if you have a lot of power and torque, this can tear out, or just vibration and abuse. But basically this metal area can tear out of the body. And so you weld in a plate here that spreads the load to a much larger area and reinforces the whole thing. See, there's the front subframe point. So there's 4 of them, 4 of those plates. And then the R-tab pockets go in here to reinforce where the trailing arm mounts. And the rear upper shock mounts are pretty self-explanatory. They go at the top inside back there. So let's get to it. All right, we're checking out these reinforcement plates. Here's the ones for the R-tab pockets. Those are identical side to side, it looks like. Same with the shock mounts, they're identical. 2 of the subframe mounts are identical, but then there's these 2 that are different. And they actually marked them for you. There's a little P there for passenger, D for driver. So you know exactly where they go, which is pretty sweet. Thanks, Condor. And also made in the USA. Yeah, we like that. All right, so Ben's here, Brian's here, and we've had quite the morning trying to get a welder here just to do these plates. Some miscommunication on my part. I did explain to him that the car is not at the shop where this Miller MIG welder was. So now basically we don't have a 220 extension plug. First we didn't have the right 220 plug. This is a commercial style plug. We had to get this adapter, which my dad had luckily. But the car's out there with no rear subframe, and we don't have a 220 extension long enough to get all the way over to the welder. So we were thinking, oh, we'll just move the car into the garage. Well, it doesn't have a rear subframe, and we don't really have a good way to roll it on dollies or anything. So right now, we're trying to come up with a windshield to block the wind, because it's kind of windy out here, and that's the problem with welding out here. So Ben's under there wire wheeling away, having a great time. And here's our makeshift wind blocker. The things you gotta do. All right, what's up guys? Filming a quick little video here on changing some wastegate springs out. I'm changing to smaller wastegate springs or a single spring to hopefully get the boost under control for pump gas so I won't run too much boost and it'll be easier on tires. And Brian and I were disassembling the wastegates here, and we're just noting that one of them gets a lot more heat than the other one. Check it out. All right, excuse the messy workbench, but both of these gates, brand new, were red. They are not red anymore. This one's like a little more red than this one, which has completely lost all of its anodizing. And the springs are actually stuck, well, they were stuck a second ago, in operating the diaphragm. The good thing though, even with all that heat, these diaphragms are not torn at all. I've had these for years, been beating the shit out of them, and Tile makes a good product, so that's pretty cool. We were trying to figure out though, what color wastegate springs are actually in there so we know how much boost it's supposed to be running, but they're both just like brown now or whatever. Luckily, this gate got a little bit less heat, so we can see I've got a red and what looks like maybe a black. I don't know, but
the top of this one also looks black.
That one looks black too?
Yeah, there was some paint on
one side of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so black and red we think, but that one, it's just funny, that got so much heat that you couldn't tell anything of what was going on with that. So there we go. Fun fact, same car, 2 different locations on the manifold, one of them gets a lot hotter. let's take a look at Ben's handiwork down here on these subframe plates. Beautiful. So he's having a big problem with the wind blowing the gas out, but he still did an excellent job. These welds look great. Used the stud to hold the plate in place temporarily. But yeah, now these mounts, there's no way those are going to rip out. I can put a lot of power to it, and they will be good to go. Sweet. Thanks, Ben. Venture Performance Fabrication in San Antonio. The dude knows what's up. He's very good with the welder. He can make what you need. Also got the steering wheel on and a hub, so I can run my sweet NRG Lone Star Drift trophy wheel. Still have the tag on it. I need to take this off. But yeah, that already kind of makes me more excited about the car in general. It just makes it sporty and ready to drive, so sweet. Next steps, we're gonna have to go pull the drivetrain out of the coupe and bring the engine hoist here so that we can get this engine out and do a little swapping. Hopefully it'll be together soon. This is Sunday for anyone watching this later. All right, what's up guys? Tank Top Mike here. Welcome to another episode of the Sedan Build and Drift Week USA prep. It is currently, it's Wednesday before the trip, and the first day of the trip is on next Tuesday. So I have a ton of work to do. I'm kind of stressing about it, but we're gonna make it happen. So right now, as you can see, my regular car, my coupe, whatever you want to call it, I've been calling it coupe excessively, is on the lift behind me. Engine and transmission are still in it, as well as the subframes. Right now I'm working on removing the rear subframe, so I'm gonna go show you guys some of that stuff underneath the car in just a second, but basically disconnecting all the brake lines, the shocks, trailing arm pockets, and then getting ready to take the 4 main subframe bolts out and just drop it down. My idea was to lower the car, undo both subframes, and then lift the chassis off of the subframes. That's usually a pretty handy trick to do if you have like a cart that dealerships use to hold the drivetrain on, or like some pallets or something will work. Unfortunately, I realized that my turbo manifold, being top mount and tubular, goes over the passenger side frame rail, so I actually can't drop it out the bottom, and it's basically impossible to remove the manifold while it's in the car. So I'm gonna have to unbolt the front subframe, bring it forward, probably lift the engine up a little bit to get over the front frame rails, the ends of them, they stick up a little bit, and then we should be good to go. So let's look at some stuff in the rear that I'm working on right now and keep going. All right, as you can see, I've got the drive shaft out over there. Trailing arms are out. You can see I've run bearings and they're heavily offset to the inside for more toe. So I'll show you guys more detail of that in a bit. The springs are out. These are 8Ks, I think, and I don't run any adjusters in the rear. Got the shocks loose. Oh man, you can't really see it here. Let me get the flash. Much better. Okay. So I disconnected the brake lines. I've got a little bottle taped into the hard line, or zip tied rather, to catch fluid. You can see I had to disconnect the secondary caliper as well. So I have the hard lines for that over here. I already took them off. I'm getting ready to take this stuff home to put on the other car. So this was custom made, I guess. I had a place here in Austin called Hydraulic House build these for me and pressure test them, and then I made this section of hardline, and those go up to this T-junction block. So there's a port on each side here. This comes from the handbrake in the car through the body there, and so I've already removed those lines, which go out to each corner to the Willwoods. So let's see what else we got under here. There's my fuel lines. We will not be taking those. We're going to use the ones on the 325. And the tank stays because they're identical. No reason to take that. Main thing that I want is this bad boy right here. This is a 7 Series 210 millimeter diff. And these things are pretty much indestructible. you can run a whole lot of power and torque through them. And they're becoming harder and harder to find. So luckily I got that one quite a few years ago and did the mod, I forget, CES Motorsport, that's who makes this. So basically this holds the diff in double shear. Normally you would have, let me explain that better. Normally you would have a diff bushing right here coming out the front. And on these cars, if you clutch kick really hard, you can basically break that bolt that goes through the bushing. So putting this weld-on bracket here puts the bolt there from the side and there from the side. So basically, you're gonna have to snap off 2 bolts that are solidly mounted right into the diff to break anything anymore, and that's just not gonna happen. So, shout out to SPL for these awesome titanium lower control arms. Get you some, they're super lightweight, nice and adjustable, very strong. Let's see, what else we got? We got aluminum subframe bushings everywhere, aluminum diff bushings, M3 axles. This is a Torx conversion. You can get E90 Torx bolts instead of studs, so you don't have to like deal with 2 of the studs and 2 of the bolts. They're just all bolts now. It's a little bit nicer to work with. But yeah, that's under the car and a little bit of detail of this thing. Let's see. So yeah, pretty much now I need to get the rear subframe completely out and figure out a plan. I need to clear out in front of the car a bunch so that I can have room to get the engine and subframe forward a bit. So I'm gonna clean up a little bit here and we'll report back. All right, well, a lot of cleaning and brainstorming later. Here's what we've got. Didn't really have enough room to pull the subframe. It just didn't seem like it was gonna work out. So I bolted some front wheels back on and I lifted the rear of the car with a jack just on the rear subframe. So I was able to wheel it back and now I've got a lot more clearance up here. I'll just go ahead and pull the engine and tranny out of the front, get them out and around the car, and then we'll deal with dropping the subframe and getting the angle kit and everything. But success. At least we got to a point where stuff can keep happening. Yay. All right, you guys, I'll kneel down because I can't get a good height on this thing. As you can see behind me, engine's not quite out yet. I cleared a bunch of space in front of the car to be able to get the engine hoist in there, pull it up with the transmission forward, and then out and around the car so we can go load it in the truck, and then I'll wheel the car back forward onto the lift and drop the front and rear subframe at that point. I forgot how much work this is. I haven't really dug into this car this hard or this far in depth in quite. All right, guys, well, I got pretty much everything out that I need as far as drivetrain goes. I still have electronics and stuff to get out of here, but the engine's out, front subframe's obviously out, and the angle kit, and I just got the rear subframe out. So it's pretty much a shell with some BC coilovers in it. And all the other goodies inside, I guess. But yeah, here's my subframe out of this car. M3 main brake, Willwood Dynapro 4-piston for the handbrake. And then I've got some adapter spacers on there to go to 5x114. Let's see, what else? This subframe has solid aluminum subframe bushings in it, so I'll be running those again in the other car, just because that eliminates like a bunch of flex of the subframe and prevents any kind of loading up that could break stuff. So having it be able to distribute the load immediately through aluminum into the body is good. As you can see also, if you're familiar with E36 diffs, this is not a stock diff. This is out of an E32 750i V12. It's 210 millimeter instead of like the 188 millimeter in the stock diff. And as you can notice, it has a rear boomerang bracket, which is like a Euro M3 style of mounting back there. Helps strengthen all that up. And let's see, what else? I already mentioned in the previous clip about the front of the diff being held in dual shear on the side with bolts, so it doesn't break the front diff bushing, because there is no front diff bushing. When you put one of these diffs in, you have to cut it out of the subframe here, so I've already done that years ago. And here's my modified trailing arm brackets that I had done years and years ago to get more toe in. As you can see, it's a trailing arm bearing in here from Turner, I believe. And then I had some spacers turned in the lathe to get it to offset perfectly to the inside so I can get as much toe in as possible. I also had this plate welded on because factory there's an indentation like this. So I cut that out, had this plate welded on, drilled through that, and now you can get that much more thickness inwards. So when you lower E36s and try to get zero camber, you basically can't get very much toe in at all. So this is my solution to being able to get a substantial amount of toe in to get the side bite I need. But yeah, there's the diff and the rear subframe. And the engine's over there. I'm about to put it on a pallet and strap it, grab it with the forklift, and then put it in the back of the truck. Here's my front subframe with the MG Solution Angle Kit. Everything's really dirty right now, but I'll just clean all this up and clean up the coolers a bunch, probably flush them out, and then we will go put this on the other car. Actually, first I need to drop the engine and subframe out of the other car so that this can go in there, but the rear one can go in right now. So that's good progress. And these are non-M knuckles for anyone wondering. So I don't know if that's relevant or not, but the MG Solution Kit can only run non-M. So all right, you guys, I'm pretty dirty. I don't know how much more I'm gonna be able to get done today. I've been at it for like a solid 6 hours, and I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm not even 30 yet, but my lower back starts hurting after a while of bending over an engine bay and doing all that. So I have the front and rear subframes out. I just showed you that. I've got the engine ready to go and transmission ready to go. The next steps, as far as disassembly on the coupe further, will be taking the AIM MXL dash out and getting all of that associated wiring just to make sure I have all the sensors and everything I want to monitor this fancy engine. But that's not gonna happen today for sure, and most likely I won't even be able to get the other engine out of the 325 today. That'll be tomorrow, where I pull the other engine out, pull the front subframe out, and put this stuff in behind me. So stay tuned for that, and thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Give me one of those thumbs up, please. It'd be very helpful. What's that guy on the Looney Tunes that always stutters? I feel like him sometimes. Anyways, thank you for watching, and wish me luck. It's Wednesday right now, but we're gonna make it. So see you next time.